Let the stars no longer be hidden by her oppressive silhouette.
Clair Obscur Expedition 33, the game debut for Sandful Interactive, took the gaming world by storm when it came out in April this year. And as up to date as I am, I of course didn't really know what it was until I waited for the first sale to get it. I managed to dodge any content concerning the game. The only thing I knew was that it is an RPG with turn-based combat and real-time elements. So I started it up, not knowing what I would get myself into. And if you haven't played it, I will not spoil you anything. All the footage I used was captured in the first 3 hours of the game, and the story beats I'm going to use are all from the game's intro. In a fractured world that seems like a twisted version of Paris, a monolith is home to the paintress. Every year, she changes the number displayed prominently at the front of the pillar, counting down, and people reaching the respective age are gommaged, meaning they disintegrate into petals, leaving this world forever. Every year, an expedition is sent out to defeat the paintress, or carve a path for the expeditions that come after, so she can never paint death again. Right from the start, the game feels very French. Not only because of the big and crooked Eiffel Tower that is located prominently at the center of Lumière, but also the fact that the first thing we learn about the main character is that he has a weird relationship with his ex-girlfriend. Gustave and Maëlle, the protagonists of the game, are part of the name-giving Expedition 33 and about to embark on their journey. This is all I want to say about the story itself, a story that is beautiful but also very melancholic, with themes of loss, grief and sacrifice being ever prominent throughout. Not least of all because of the characters. Every single one of them seems like they could be a real person with real problems, fitting organically into the world the game takes place in. Everyone has lost people, is about to lose even more and has to find a way to move on. They are brought to life by high-profile actors like Charlie Cox from Daredevil or Jennifer English, who was Shadowheart in Baldur's Gate 3. One of the characters is even voiced by Andy motherfucking Serkis, which took me way too long to figure out. Pretty impressive for a game and studio that had to work with a AA budget. The music that relies a lot on pianos and violins before taking a turn into a heavy rock direction during conflicts makes the game stand out even more. But we're not here to discuss music, we're here to figure out if the game is worth its money. So let's do this. The setting and art direction has a very FromSofty aesthetic to it. And that's not the only thing that feels like a Souls game. Generally, it has a vibe of what if Elden Ring and Final Fantasy made sweet, sweet love, and this is the result of it. That's not a bad thing though. It has enough stuff that makes the game stand out compared to others. What I just want to say, the areas are stunning, especially in the first half. For me it kinda fell off towards the end. It runs on Unreal Engine 5, so it already has a very solid foundation graphics-wise. But it is the style they put on it that makes the game convey that sense of hopelessness, but also beauty the developers were undoubtedly going for. Every aspect of the game reinforced that feeling that something must have gone terribly wrong in the world to cause it staying in that fractured state. Whole islands of debris are just floating in the sky, houses collapsed and got stuck in the ground. You can't help but wonder what caused this catastrophe and what role the paintress plays in this. The game is very polished. I've barely encountered any severe bugs during my 40 hours of playtime. The only issues I met were the player character getting stuck in the geometry at times or starting to walk slowly all of a sudden. No biggie, just a minor annoyance that just goes to show that releasing a finished game should be possible. Right, Ubisoft?
Back up, Jack!
And all the other AAA studios. My PC, however, has its issues with UE5 games, It's not as severe as the Oblivion remaster, but it really struggled to keep a steady frame rate. While it kept a steady 60 or higher, in some closed areas it crashed down to 40 once I went into more open ones, regardless of the graphics settings. Maybe you can correct me in the comments, but I feel like the engine is not fully optimized for PC yet, or it's time for me to finally get a better GPU. In the past, turn-based combat was something that made me not consider a game at all. It was just something I personally didn't like or care about. I like to be fully immersed in the games I play. That meant real-time gameplay and sharpening my reflexes. Then I played Baldur's Gate 3. Couldn't stop, and that made me think, fine, that kind of combat is alright, I guess. But why am I even telling you this? I wanted to set the stakes before talking about combat in Clair Obscur. I was skeptical, but at the same time I wanted to give it a shot, and boy, am I glad I did. It was difficult for me to get into it at the start, to be perfectly honest, but once you get the hang of it, it's really fun and challenging. While you choose to take actions during your turns, you can't just watch what your opponents do, you have to stay vigilant. Every skill chosen has a short QTE the player has to pass in order to get the full effects. Sometimes the skill doesn't go through should you fail to pass the check. Sometimes nothing happens, and sometimes you even damage yourself. There are multiple options to react to an enemy's attack. At the start you can only dodge and parry. Later other options are introduced, but I'm not gonna show them here. Perfect parries are way harder to pull off than perfect dodges. But once there is a parry mechanic in a game, my primal instincts kick in and I have to try and do it with every single attack. I can't help it, it's in my nature. And the fact that you get an immediate reward for parrying by triggering a counterattack doesn't really make me change my behavior. Anyone who's seen me play Lies of P, twitch.tv/thedevos or youtube.com/thedevoslive for very irregular streams, knows I'm a Sekiro guy. Someone swings their weapon at me, you bet I'm gonna try and throw it right back at ya, even though it goes to show that I have a very poor reaction time. Where was I? Oh, yeah, throughout the game, new mechanics are introduced constantly, which prevents it from going stale. Every character has a unique set of skills, with different means to get the most out of them. Gustav is more of a melee guy, while Dune plays more a mage or support role. They all have their unique ways to maximize their skills, their own weapons which are character specific, and those weapons themselves have Souls-like weapon scaling and damage types, so you can look for the most efficient and balanced party. You have APs, which fuel your skills that need differing amounts in order to be available. The more powerful, the more AP you need. You know how this goes. Either you attack your enemies with standard melee attacks, you use shards, which I haven't done even once throughout the game, or you use Pictus or Lumina to chuck them up real good. Speaking of which, Clair Obscur falls into the same trap that many games do. It has a ton of lore, because of course it does, and that lore plays into the gameplay, which means that there are a lot of things that are explained in the in-game lingo. The first time I heard about Chroma, Pictus and Lumina, the latter two essentially being buffs that you can equip, learn and then switch around to get the best build, I didn't know what to do with them. Also you get the weapon upgrade material, which works a lot like Titanite shards or smithing stones in From Software games, but the option to use them is only unlocked once you get to the second area. Sometimes weapons also apparently upgrade without the player doing anything. I was confused at the start of the game is all I wanted to say, but then again I am not very smart. There is an overworld, the continent, that you get to once you finish the first level, which is used to navigate from one level to the next, but that's not all you can do there. In Metroidvania fashion you unlock new parts and areas throughout the world, making new side missions and minigames available. I didn't really bother to play them, they didn't really seem appealing to me, but I'm sure that many people will or have enjoyed them already. The continent has a weird scaling, which felt a bit disconcerting to me the first time I saw it, though I got used to it towards the end. At camp you can talk to the other members of the expedition, getting to know the world a bit more, which has its good bit of humor even though the premise seems really dark and bleak at first. And you can upgrade your adventuring gear, meaning weapons, healing shards, etc. All in all, the game is a very balanced experience, with new enemy types in every area, memorable bosses and, as mentioned before, many unique elements, even though you can see the games and genres that influenced the developers. I needed my good bit of time to get into Clair Obscur Expedition 33. In the beginning I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, and that remained for a good portion of the game, up until a certain point in the story. Anyone who's played it probably knows which point I'm referring to, and from that moment onwards I was hooked. If someone told me that this game was made by a small studio consisting of around 30 employees, I would not believe them, as the level of writing and gameplay complexity really matches any modern AAA games. Hopefully they continue on that level of production. I for one am looking forward to the next game. Until then, I hope you liked this little review of a game that has been out for 3 months by now. When you look at this channel you may see that it takes me a while to make new videos, but I'm working on changing that. And I also don't want it to turn into a pure review channel. I want to try out some stuff and figure out what works and what doesn't. If you want to be along for the ride, consider subscribing and liking the video. Be sure to check out my streaming channels, even though I seem to disappear regularly for a few months. But I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!